I got Bo and Dena Thomas sitting here with me. You guys have had quite a run with advanced services.
Yes.
And if your ears could burn when somebody was talking about you, I have had several conversations with Jeff in depth.
I bet.
And
don't believe him.
He thinks the world of you guys for different reasons. I asked him, were you the president, Dena? And he said she could be the president of the world. And then he talked about your detail and how you can fix things and take shortcuts to get stuff done that has got talent off the charts with both of you. So first, Dena, I'm going to just talk to both of you here, but tell me, you came from the state of Washington to South Carolina, I suppose, right? Is that where you moved?
Well, by way of Michigan.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how did that happen? How did you come here?
So
it wasn't because of Bo, right?
No, we met years later. No, I wanted to get as far away from the West Coast as I could. So I moved to Michigan to go to college, and I got an opportunity to move to Georgia. And I said, well, is it Augusta, Georgia or Augusta, Maine? And it was Augusta, Georgia. And I said, well, I'm tired of the cold. So I opted for Augusta, Georgia.
Wow. And so, Bo, you were from here, right?
Yeah.
So you
pretty much. I mean, I'm Thompson, which is just one town over.
Oh,
so,
yeah. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think I read 1994.
That's right.
You came to work as just a termite man or whatever, right?
Crawl under houses and dig.
Rough. Talk about that. Talk about how you ended up there.
Well, it was
better than sheetrock.
It's hard to say that it was a bad job because where I was coming from, I was my father and my brothers, they had a construction business. Basically, they were subcontractors that did drywall work, and so that's kind of what I fell right into, getting out of school. And it was, up and down in the early 90s. It was like you either had too much work or you weren't working at all. And, there's no tax. It's all 1099. No taxes taken out of it. And
remember those days.
Oh, so I was like, I couldn't even ever see myself buying a car. I was like, how am I ever going to know that I'm going to make any kind of money? And I got a call from a guy that was an employee of Jeff's, and he was looking for young folks and said, hey, do you know, he was in the same church I was, and he was like, do you know any younger folks? And I was like, well, how young do you need them? Because I'm only 20 years old. So, do they got to be younger than that? And so that's how I got started. And so they needed a termite technician, which was the guy that goes underneath the houses and carries the drills and drills all the holes and
not
trenches.
An easy job, obviously.
Yeah, it wasn't fun, but it was a little bit better than hanging drywall. So, and it was steady.
So, did you have a clue at 20 years old, if you fast forward whatever years that is, almost 30 years, that you would get to do what you got to do in that company? Did that light ever come on?
No, not at all.
So, Dena, I think I got this right, but 6 months or so after he started, you started working, and you were working in Aiken. Is that right? If I got that messed up?
Well, no, I started in Augusta, and we didn't even have an Aiken office at that point.
Okay.
And actually, I met Bo the first time when I went on my second interview.
I remember what she was wearing.
So did you fall in love immediately? Did you?
Oh, when I saw her, I was like, wow.
So this company, it blows me away because I just about everybody's met their lifelong mate there, and
on some level.
Yeah.
On some level. So that's not true.
There's several of us. Yeah.
Well. A lot of people I'm talking to.
Yeah. Bo and I were.
It was 10 years later.
Yeah, it was 10 years later. We were with other people at that point.
Yeah.
But we met there and we worked together for a while. And he left and worked for another company, and then he bought his own company and did that for a while. And then in 2002, I had already bought the South Carolina operation, and I needed a DCA, somebody to manage all of the technical stuff. And he came on, and it just was.
We ended up getting married in August.
Yeah. But we've known each other for a long time.
Let me back up a minute. So you started just as a part-time clerical worker at this office.
Well,
tell me how that came about.
Okay, so I started. It was weird back in the 90s because you would get a job through a temp agency as a permanent employee, but for me, I had to pay them for 6 months out of my paycheck to work there. Isn't that crazy?
Oh, wow.
Right?
Yeah, nowadays the
Doesn't work that
company
way
has to pay to
Yeah.
have somebody.
Yeah. So at that point, I had to pay for 6 months out of a certain percentage of my pay every week to them to get the job. And I was hired for clerical. And then I ended up moving with Pat to Aiken when we started the office over there, which was fantastic, by the way. And you can edit this if you need to, but every Friday afternoon, she would show up about 4:30 with a Coors pack, 6-pack of Coors Light, and we'd drink a beer and call it a week.
It is. So how did you?
I mean, it
how
was
did
awesome.
the buying this come about? And
Buying
Bo, I'm gonna get back to
operation?
you. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
so-
how did you come about by buying that whole deal?
So Jeff was in kind of a transitional period with him and his partner, and he really wanted to separate the states. And so in 2001, October 1st of 2001, right after 9/11 happened, closed on the business, which was very, very scary, by the way, because as you can
Oh, my
imagine,
goodness.
everything was just in complete turmoil.
Perfect time to buy a business.
Yeah, right. Let's go buy a business. And so, yeah, I bought the business in October 2001, and Bo and I got married the next year, and within less than 3 months later, found out I was pregnant, had a baby, and then had a baby as soon as I could get pregnant again, decided that was the wrong thing to do. So it was really, it was a crazy, crazy few years. And then in 2008, we just decided, you know what, it's so much easier to put the whole puzzle back together, because we were still having to do all the marketing cross state lines. Everything had to be done across state lines, and it just seemed like a better option to put all of our resources back together.
You're still working as one business, it seemed like,
Right.
and it was like
everything
the
had to be
headache of it was just
So both of you, I saw, became certified entomologist or had a certificate. Talk about that. What exactly is that?
so.
That was
Yeah, ACE. That was a fun. It's a really thorough exam. You've got to be in the industry so long. It's the only industry that actually has a certificate or a certification that you don't have to go to college for. So it's actually on the job experience, and then passing a test, and you get certified in that. And I did it in 2012. In fact, Dena and Jeff were the only people that even know that I was taking the test, because we didn't know how it was going to go.
You didn't want people to know.
Yeah, you didn't want people to know.
I get
And it was supposed to be, you had to pass with an 80 or better, and it was a really in-depth test. And so, but I made it. I got out of there, I think maybe 4 points better than what I needed, but I walked out of there and didn't have to take the test again. That's all that mattered.
So you obviously have a skill set that jumped out at Jeff early on. I mean, you were doing things. I mean, you make him speak to his skill set better than he will, but obviously
it's huge.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
why don't you talk about his skill set? That'd be better than him doing it. Talk about what you saw.
So he is what I call the closet nerd. When he gets into something, he just like dives completely down the rabbit hole on it. And people send us bug pictures all the time and say, "What is this bug?" And Bo looks at it and was like, "Oh yeah, well that's a such and such or whatever." And I mean, he is the go-to person for any kind of thing that you could possibly need to know about bugs, but also, and it's completely outside of his personality type, but he is so geared in on all of the litigation stuff and all of the regulatory stuff that we might deal with in the bug industry that it is absolutely amazing. I mean, people from all over call him and ask him advice about stuff.
So Jeff mentioned that. Jeff said, and you know this, he's more of a visionary. I think you call him the visionary.
He is.
Yeah.
But every visionary has got to have somebody that's reading the detail.
So here's what's really crazy is that Jeff and Bo's disc profiles are exactly the same.
Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly. In fact, when Jeff was showing me his, I said, "Well, that's not yours, that's Bo's." And he said, no, that's mine. And so I was like, no, that's Bo's. And I pulled out Bo's, and they're exactly the same. But Bo has perfected the art of going outside of his profile and really just making sure that all the details, the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed.
So that's the thing about the profiles is your goal is to make it more balanced to begin with. I mean, you find out where you bent, but then your goal is to.
I think she honed a little bit of that. I can't take credit for all of that.
Well,
her going, hey, did you think about this? Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember Jeff even mentioning one time that of you figured out a way to do something so much quicker that it took him 20 minutes to do, and you could do it in 2 minutes or something. I don't know what he's talking
maybe.
About. So Jeff talks about you being, and this is a good question that I'm going to ask you. Well, you're like the mother hen of that company. He used that word. So as president of the company, you had to play hardball. You run a business. You got to make money. You're dealing with employees, but obviously these people became your friends. You guys were a family. How did you balance that? How do you go about doing that? I'm sure.
I've made men cry. I'm not gonna lie.
I bet.
But not just him.
I bet.
I have, but I think when you have to coach somebody, when you do it in a loving way, that when you're trying to make them better and not beat them down, that makes sense.
It's all about the way you talk to them. You're honest and
I mean, I can recall multiple conversations where, I remember one where I said, I feel like I'm talking to a four-year-old right now. Why am I having to have this conversation with you? You're an adult. Well,
that was probably me.
She's got
maybe it might not have been me. I don't remember it, but that sounds familiar.
That was when you didn't come in.
It sounds familiar. I don't know.
No, I mean, I've had there's been lots of hard conversations, and
had to be.
Yeah, there has to be.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had hard conversations with Jeff.
Oh, I'm sure. He mentioned that.
Yeah, I have. Yeah. And I remember one in particular where he said, you have to go then and tell them how to do this. And I said, that's not how we're running this company, though. We're, kind of having conversations. He said, you have to do this now. And I said, well, do I? I can. If you tell me I have to, then that's fine. But should I?
All right.
And we've talked through, he and I have talked through many hard conversations, and he's been a huge mentor to both Bo and myself and our entire team. Yeah. I can't say enough about Jeff. He's just awesome.
But he said that. He said that's what he respects you in that role is that you would push back, and he gave you the freedom to push back. Although he might not have liked it when you were pushing back.
He didn't like it.
No, but he operated to empower people to do their jobs, and you had to have fun coming to work because you could make decisions. You could do what you needed to do.
He also invested a lot in us.
He invested a huge amount in all of our team. And he's the one that started that. I mean, he probably, if he hadn't pushed so hard to invest in the leadership,
and the training of it,
we would not have been where we were.
Yeah,
there's no doubt.
Yeah, he talks about human capital.
Yeah,
and that is so important in the business, and that you guys, these key employees at this company,
our leader team.
Yeah, the leader team was you ran the company, and he would give his opinion. He said he had an idea. You may have done it 1 in 100 times, but because he said it that you did it, you would listen to it. If it was good, you'd do it.
Well,
but
it's called
make those decisions.
It's called the 1 in 10. As a visionary, you have 1 out of 10 ideas that are good.
That's right. That's right. He said that same thing. Yeah. So talk a little bit, and I know what impressed me about this company. I mean, it's the people. The growing internally of the people is unique, and you know that. I've been in business all my life. You hire people to be a financial person. You hire people to be an HR person. You all started at the ground, and you became these really, for my eyes, superstars. That
every single one on the team. started from the ground level and
Yeah.
worked up.
One of the things he did, and as you became like family, and you all had different roles, and you respected that. I mean, you're vice president of operations.
Yeah.
She's the president of the company. So you really reported to her. You
No
probably,
different than at home,
She's
though.
probably reporting to you at home. I doubt it.
No, no different at home. Everybody always asks me that. How could you work with your wife?
Well,
And I'm like, well, it's no different than being at home. I mean, she's the boss at home. She's the boss at work.
but the way she comes across, she can be the boss. That's the truth.
Well, and I'm probably harder on him than I was on anybody else.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Which is probably not fair.
So talk
okay.
just a minute about I know this company did a lot in the community.
Oh, yeah.
And that had to inspire people. Most people do what they got to do, and you guys went way above what everybody thought you would or could. Just talk about what that meant to you.
I think for me, one of the, not just the community aspect of it, but seeing the team come together for a common goal was huge. And there were so many different ways that we branched out, from barbecue to Bald for a Cause to Cruising for a Cure. There were so many different things that invoked creativity from the team that they just really picked up on and took off with.
And there was a lot of camaraderie happening.
Yeah.
When you're doing stuff outside of the company.
Yeah,
it had to be.
Yeah, the bike ride that Steve Seymour did. I mean, there were so many things that just brought so much talent to shine.
Yeah, so you could see things in people that you wouldn't see at work, and that's part of the growth you saw.
And it built the team more, too.
And under your leadership, both of you, this company grew big time.
Yeah.
It did.
And you got to be proud of that. It's got to be a great accomplishment. And that brings me, how emotional was it when
don't even go there.
yeah. When all this was over, I told Jeff, it was almost like watching, and me looking from the outside in, it's almost like watching the season finale of Friends or The Office.
Right.
All these things, and all of a sudden it's over.
I'm going to need some tissue.
Yeah, just talk about what you felt.
You.
Yeah, you first.
Well, it was a crazy roller coaster of emotions. You know, we knew that we were at the point, us and where our leadership team was, that in order for them to actually keep growing as a leadership team, that we were actually going to have to be out of the picture.
Right.
I mean, they were already ready to step up into the roles that they have now, and could possibly even be more so. So, you know, it was good to see that part of it, but it was always, you know, saying or stepping back was kind of, you know, there's a lot of fear in that.
Sure.
How are they going to take it?
Right.
You know, and letting them know that we're still there for them. If you know.
Wow. Well, what were your emotions? What were you thinking? We're gonna wrap this up. So
Yeah, we're going to wrap it up.
tell me about it.
I can't.
Just the love, respect, the accomplishments, the relationships built,
The family.
the family. So that's the biggest thing, right? At the end of the day, you grew the business, but it wasn't about that. It was about
It was our family.
something wonderful time of your life ended, and you're looking in the rearview mirror.
Yep.
You guys are dynamite. Unbelievable having this conversation, and God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce.